What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to a new video. It's pretty windy out here. I've got one of the windscreens on the DJI mic, but I want to make this one quick. Man, what a crazy fucking world we're living in, ladies and gentlemen. This is something that we've been talking about on this channel since the day it pretty much started, right? That we're living in an underworld of sorts, that we're living in a world where the people have actually been kind of driven insane. And they prove that with their actions. They prove that with their behavior. Again, so we live in kind of a realm that's like the invasion of the body snatchers, guys. Something has taken over the minds of the masses. There is more abhorrent crimes now than there ever has been. There is more insanity now than there ever has fucking been. It's an absolute disgrace. We live, you guys, in an antichrist, anti-gnosis system. And anyone that cannot see that, it's because your blinders are still on, you guys. You've got to work on getting your perception back. You've got to work on getting your awareness back so that you can see into the core of things, so that you can see things for what they are. God designed you to be a lie detector. You have senses for a reason, you guys. Yet most people are not using their God-given senses, and that's why they're led astray. That's why they're still plugged in. That's why they're still integrated with this beast system. When you get to a certain degree of perceptual fluidity, when you get a certain degree of clarity back through your magic, through your meditations, through your introspection, through your inner work, etc., you will be able to see what it is. When I say that people are lost, guys, like, you'll be able to see it. There's a difference between like thinking about it, oh, maybe people are lost, da-da-da-da-da. But when you can see it, you guys, when you can actually witness the Archon's influence plugged into the collective, it is something to behold. This is a science fiction novel, this world that we're living in, on fucking steroids, guys. The mind control is way ahead of what you'd ever expect, you guys. What you'd ever expect. The surveillance system. Aside from the mind control, the surveillance world that we live in, you guys, is 10,000 steps ahead of what you would ever expect. Even the streetlights, you guys, in many major cities have highly advanced facial recognition software in the streetlights. That it's constantly scanning everything. It's putting like these digital boxes around people and watching them in live time. They're getting your biometric feedback. You guys, I don't even know how to put it into words. And this is all spidered around or built around a hub of antichrist energy, you guys. See the point? The overarching agenda of the New World Order, the number one goal of theirs, and they've already succeeded with flying colors, is to completely shut off what's known by the Gnostics as the spark. And the spark is kind of a metaphor, in a sense, of the ability to raise Kundalini in your system, up your spine. The energy goes up the spine, gets into the head, gets into the promised land, reawakens the king and the queen's chamber, the pineal and the pituitary glands, and then you see through the eye of Christ. There's so much that could be said about Kundalini, but guys, in essence, and to try to keep this one short, the overarching agenda of the New World Order, whatever you want to call this disgusting antichrist system, is to stop the flow of Christ energy through the collective. And Kundalini is the risen Christ, you guys. Christ is the risen Kundalini, excuse me. Christ consciousness. It's a state of consciousness. When that Kundalini gets into the head, you guys, you now access perceptual fluidity, and you can now see into beyond the visible light spectrum on the electromagnetic spectrum. You see, with Kundalini in our systems moving through us, you guys, we have no limits and we're intimately connected to God, and that connection cannot be severed. So what they did is they figured out a way to tamper with human genetics, the human biology, etc., and they've shut off parts of our genes that allow Kundalini to express our chromosomes, etc. Kundalini, long story short, I can't speak today, is supposed to move through our entire biology. It's supposed to move through our genetic makeup, etc. So they figured out a way to genetically engineer humans to shut Kundalini energy off, guys, to keep it from expressing itself through our genes, our genome, our DNA. Man. And Christ warned you about this, you guys. Even in your mainstream bullshit, highly modified King James Version and all your different renditions of the Bible, you can still find gems in there of Christ warning your monkey ass. Christ knew that Earth had been hijacked. And that not only was that hijacking of Earth done physically by people taking over this system and creating their little matrix prison system, but the Earth has been hijacked by way of the organisms living on it, humans, have had their minds tampered with and their genes, their genome, guys. And you've been reduced into a basically like an animal in a sense, compared to like what we're supposed to be in contrast to what we're currently exhibiting. When you actually know what you're supposed to be, you guys, when you actually know what this body and this mind and this spirit can do, and then you see what's happening here on this earth, it makes you want to puke. So ever since my Kundalini awakenings, when I first started having them in my early 20s, you guys, I really truly became a Gnostic. And that Gnostic energy saturates every single iota of who I am. Every red or corpuscle of my blood is saturated in Gnostic energy, Promethean energy. And I've learned to truly despise this world. I hate it. And that doesn't mean I hate being a human, that I hate being alive. No, I hate the fact that we've been reduced to this creature. We're like a knuckle-dragging caveman monster in contrast to what we're designed to be, guys. It's that simple. And this is why I've isolated myself away from the collective for the most part, right? And I've built my own secondary energy field, if you will, outside of the confines of the masses, if you will. Excuse me. See, most of us have no silence. We have got to obtain some degree of silence, guys. It's very difficult to get silence in the major cities when you're constantly trying to make other people happy and when you're constantly just busy doing matrix nonsense. You see, we're here to work on our craft, at least in my opinion, so that you can evolve. In my opinion, one of the many reasons of our purposes of life is to constantly evolve, guys. How are you going to evolve when you're still plugged into the beast? Do you see what I'm saying? Man. Like it's just nuts. The surveillance here, you guys, is 10,000 steps ahead of what you'd ever expect. They've got nanotech in our systems, in our bloodstream, which is the river of life, you guys, that is monitoring all biological processes in human beings. Like most people are unable to perceive that, to understand it, etc. Oh well. Most people are not destined for really hearing their calling in this lifetime and shattering the perceptual veil and becoming whole again. And that's essentially what Christ was trying to teach his disciples, etc. You've got to become whole again. And it's really difficult to become whole when you're living in a broken system that's designed to fragment you in a sense, right? To fragment you, to confuse you, to fill you full of all this perversion and all this nonsense and all this overly sexualized crap, you guys. This is such a gross fucking realm. And I'm not talking about Earth. I'm not talking about the natural shamanic biosphere that we live in. I'm talking about the disgusting pig pen land of the bottom feeder matrix. There is so much abhorrent behavior, you guys. People have literally lost their marbles. On the Newsbreak app, every single day, I see all of these crimes against children. All of these, like, the most perverse, disgusting crimes, murders, etc. What the fuck has happened to us? But you want to sit there and say, oh, it's all about love and light. You've got to have bad to have good. Just accept everything. No. That's not a Gnostic way of living. That's not a Gnostic way of interpreting the world. If good has to have evil to exist, then that's not genuinely goodness, ladies and gentlemen. Hate to tell you, hate to say it, hate to break it to you. You've got to wake the fuck up and start using your mind. But it's really difficult to use your mind when you've lost it. It's really difficult to use the mind when you've lost your mind. So most people, you guys, will never be able to really grasp the core teachings on this channel. But there are many of you who will. And that's who these videos are for. People who really want to put in the inner work. People who really want to become something greater. Because that's what this establishment does. It wants to reduce you down to beyond zero, ladies and gentlemen. It wants you constantly depressed and worried and anxious. And it's just it's disgusting. This is a waste of time, you guys. So we've got to, at some point in time, collectively get our heads on straight. But is it really going to happen, you guys? I mean, look at what people are still fighting over. People still think, the media pushes it every day. They push this idea that there's basically an infinite array of genders to pick from. There's 2 genders, guys. I've said it once and I'll say it again. When we're all dug up hundreds of years from now, you're either a man or a woman. So this is what the beast does. It wants to promote the logicless. It wants to promote the opposite of common sense, a lack of common sense. It wants to gaslight you and peer pressure you into accepting things that go against your values, the values in your heart, right? Most people have an internal compass and they can read between the lines. Most people know that this shit that the system's pushing on us is garbage, but most people they want to put their heads down and go along to get along. What's that quote? I can't remember the exact quote. Horrible things happen in this world because good men say nothing. I'm butchering the quote, but it's so fucking true, guys. I don't know if you can hear the chickens behind me, but they're flapping their wings. Maybe I'll turn the camera around in a minute and show you guys. But bad things happen in this world because good men do nothing. But the beast wants to confuse people. It loves to peer pressure people through herd kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Through herd bullying, right? If you don't accept the idea that a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man, that you're not part of our group. You got to get some of that Luciferian energy back, where you're like that rebellious energy, right? Walk away from the herd. Stop integrating with everything. Why do you need to be around so many people? Why do you need this large group of friends? What good are friends when they're shit? But again, not to be repetitive, but I really want to drive this one home in this video. The beast works, guys, by way of, it uses the media largely to promote the logicless, to promote the opposite of common sense. And it gaslights you, bullies you, and peer pressures you, and uses repetition of a message to get into your head and convert the sovereignty of your God-given mind and change it so now you integrate with the logicless. This is disgusting. This is absolutely disgusting, and I'm proud to say that I've never been in support of any of this nonsense. Since day fucking one, I've been in direct opposition to this crap, you guys. This absolute nonsensical, disgusting, demonic filth. I'm tired of this shit, and I sure as hell hope you are too. I sure as hell hope you are too. If you're wondering what these tires are behind me, we're using them for some gardening projects. They're gonna get moved and painted. This yard's gonna look a lot better when it's done. But man, it is just, it's amazing how far, they like to push the boundaries, guys. That's what the system does. They like to see how far they can bend reality and get you to submit to it. They like to see how far that they can peer pressure people. They like to see how far they can gaslight the public. They like to see how far they can turn people into these, or they just turn people into these useful idiots, you guys. Useful idiot is a remarkably good phrase or term to describe the public here in 2025. A lot see these people leaving comments on my channel about, oh, the golden era and all this other crap, and oh, the earth, we're gonna reclaim it and all this nonsense. You guys, you are fooled. The evil has more power now than it ever has, in many ways. And sure, there's a resistance to it, and I do see things starting to get better, but guys, never underestimate the beast. Never underestimate the beast. Because as disgusting as it is, and how it will sink to the lowest of lows, regardless of that, it is not lazy, and it works overtime, you guys. It does not take breaks. And in many ways, shapes, and forms, regardless of how against I am or against the system I am, I've got to admire its fucking unquenchable spirit. It never ceases. It never ceases. So your Bible warned you that this world is basically, it's been hijacked, you guys, and that evil forces, spiritual wickedness in high places is running the show. But a lot of you Christians, you're complacent here. A lot of you Christians think you're going to get raptured up and that Christ is just waiting for you, right? You don't even know what Christ is. Anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap this one up. Work on perceptual fluidity. Shift the assemblage point so that you can interact with more of the electromagnetic spectrum. Otherwise, you're never going to get it, guys, because you're in a perceptual prison. You're in an energetic prison and you're not even aware of it. Your senses have caps on them. They have limits. They have governors. And you have to have a reference point outside of your day-to-day consciousness in order to understand that. And obtaining a reference point, it's something that I really can't talk about here on this channel because of the policies here on YouTube. You've got to shake your conditioning outside of the box that it's in so that you can humble yourself and look at yourself from a different light, from a different angle. And that's not an easy thing to do. And in fact, it can be very detrimental to your programmed ego, the echo chamber that you live in. Until next time, guys, peace be with you all.
I can't help but ask myself daily, what the fuck is actually going on here? I have witnessed so many radical changes to this world in the 32 years that I have been here, most of them sadly drenched in evil. The enemy is busy building its empire, a dystopia built upon the ashes of a free world forgotten. AI, surveilled, digitized, genocide, scorched earth, hive mind, drone. We are being led by demons, masquerading as our saviors. An iniquitous oligarchy composed largely, but not entirely, of an elite class of psychopathic technocrats, eugenicists, behavioral psychologists, etc. Operating entirely through subterfuge, this consortium of evil has created a most genius veil of camouflage, enabling them to quite literally pose as a knight in shining armor coalition of humanity's saviors, promising to liberate the masses from the very afflictions that this inner circle of evil gave birth to. Ephesians 6:12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places.